Hello, it's Alpha here, and we are back with some more normal arena stuff. So I've had some comments on my videos asking for defense setups because I usually talk about just attacking, and so I decided to make this kind of video about example teams that I've seen on the top 20 and then maybe modifying them a little bit to be even better. And yeah, let's go through some of the teams. And also, if you think that some of these examples could be made better with different placement or different heroes, then please leave a comment, and I'm always happy to learn more, but these are just some of the teams that I think are good. So we'll start with the very basic team with Thoran, Lily May, double healers, and Scarlita. This is maybe the kind of like the most common team right now, I think, if you have all of these heroes. Technically, you could also use, instead of one of the healers, you could use some like Coco or Ludovic, or instead of Thoran, you could use like Granny, but I think Granny is not as good as Thoran, but you know, in some cases, if you have like Paragon Granny, for example, maybe you can test it out and see if it is better. Then I also kind of listed here what I think is to some extent the minimum requirement that you should have for these heroes. So like for Thoran you don't really need to have more than +5 weapon. For Lily May, I mean, I don't know, you should for Lily May, in all of these cases, basically the higher the level of the weapon, the better. Although with Thoran, I don't really think you have to upgrade it past +5, and with Hewynn you don't really have to upgrade it past 10. But or for example with Damien, you don't really have to upgrade it past level 5. But with of course with your like carries, so Scarlita and Lily May, the higher level the weapon, the better, or they have like more impact with the higher level weapon. And with Damien, you don't really have to have Supreme Plus, but obviously, ideally, you would have Supreme Plus with all of these heroes. And when I'm saying this, you can of course use your Hewynn even if it's not +10, but you know, +10 is kind of like important level for Hewynn, and +15 is like important level for Scarlita. So yeah, that's it about the heroes. Then we can talk about the placements. Now, usually people are using map 3 or arena 3 with these heroes, and personally I like to use Enlightening spell. So that means that if you want to use Enlightening spell on your Hewynn, you're gonna have to have Hewynn at the backmost position. That makes it placing Damien a little bit difficult, because if you place Damien like this, he's not really gonna heal your Lily May that much, but I think this is still like worth trying. It's pretty good. But then if you don't care about running Enlightening spell and you use Confining spell, you can do something like this. So you have Damien here, and then hopefully Damien will heal everyone here at the back, so Hewynn and Lily May. With this one, Damien can also heal your Thoran a bit more than with this placement, so there is like upsides with both of the placements. But with this one, because you don't have Enlightening spell, your Hewynn is a little bit more exposed to enemy using something like Confining spell, because the Confining spell will then hit your Hewynn. But yeah, both of these are fine. And then these are some different variations that you can test instead, like basically doing the same thing that in this image, but moving them back one spot, so then that you can use Enlightening spell with your Hewynn. So this also protects your Hewynn from anything like Rainier swap. Obviously the enemy can still use Rainier swap to move one of their heroes to your backline, but I mean, it's probably not gonna be an issue, because then your Lily May might start targeting whoever is kind of teleported here, and if it's like Odie, Lily May can potentially kill Odie quite quickly. But if you do use this one and you notice that you're losing because of Rainier swap, then obviously you can just move your heroes back, like, or up one position, and then you can also try something like this. but obviously once again with this placement, your enlightening spell will not hit your Hewynn, or you could use confining spell or enlightening spell in this case. And then there is some potential risk with enemy placing Vala in here, for example, and then the Vala will have direct line to your Hewynn. But yeah, maybe because you have Thoran Link and you have Scarlita Shield and you have Damien healing your Hewynn, they will have to have like a really high investment Vala for the Vala to be able to kill the Hewynn anyway, even if they have like direct targeting. So yeah, I think these are like good examples. Now obviously there is some moving heroes around and fitting around that can lead into better results, but in general I think this is kind of like a good starting point for you to start testing placements if you have these heroes. Then if you have Phraesto, you can use him instead of using Thoran. So these two, or you can use also Thoran with the Phraesto. These two examples I haven't actually seen anyone use, I think, but I was kind of like trying to think myself how I would place these heroes if I had them. So maybe you can give them a try and see how it works. I don't know if these placements are actually like that good, but I think the idea is there. The thing about Phraesto is that in Arena 3, placing him is a little bit awkward, because ideally what you want to do, of course, is place one hero behind each of the Phraestos, because if you don't know how it works, he gives damage reduction and energy reduction to the heroes that are placed behind the Phraesto. So you would want to use both of those ones, but then at the same time you want to place your Phraesto on the same line, because if you do, you can see this shield symbol around them. If you have a Supreme Plus, or I don't remember, was it Supreme Plus, but anyway, you will get like a shield and defense buff for Phraesto if they are placed on the same line. So here you can see that because they're placed in like different lines, they don't have the buff around them. So if you want to place it on the same line, then you can place something behind one of the copies. But it can still be like good to have them placed like this. And then the good thing about this having or using Phraesto on map 3 is that one of the bodies will kind of block the middle lane, and one will go around to the enemy's backline and do some like damage if they have some like DPS hero here or whatever. And Phraesto is actually quite good at dealing damage, even though he's like a tank and he has healing reduction and haste reduction and stuff like that. So yeah, something like this could work, or something like this could work also. But what I think is maybe the better placement is then using Arena 4 with your Phraesto. So doing something like this. So you have two healers healing here, and then Lily May will get the damage reduction from Phraesto, and then Scarlita will get the energy buff, or energy recovery buff, or whatever it's called. So basically the idea is that she can ultimate faster once she comes down to the battlefield. So something like this is pretty good. Or I guess you could use, instead of one of the healers, you could also use like Thoran, or you could use Aaron instead of one of the healers. Or I've seen someone use like Burial in this map. They had basically they had the heroes placed this way, and then they had like Burial also included somewhere in here. So I think these are pretty good defense options as well. And then I've seen some people use Arena 1 as well. And I think if you want to do that, then you could try something like this. You actually, I'm not 100% sure. You have to test if Hewynn will get the Enlightening buff, but the idea is that Hewynn will get the Enlightening buff in this one, so that she can't be swapped by Rainier, and then she will get the damage reduction from here. And one thing why I think that this defense is pretty good is because both of the teams are so close. So your both copy or both of your Phraestos will be able to deal damage right away to the enemies, and then that can be like really big burst to the enemy front line, because they have like I said, they have the healing reduction, and then your Lily May will kind of like burst whoever is placed at the front. So combined with the healing reduction and the damage from Lily May, it can be like quite effective to kill one of the enemies. Now, obviously, you could also try like Thoran here as well, or you could try Brian or Aaron here, where the Scarlita is, and move Scarlita to the middle, for example, or switch Lily May to this side, Aaron to here, and then Scarlita to the middle. I guess you could also have like Rainier in here, so that if they try to swap one of your heroes, then Rainier will kind of prevent it, because well, both heroes are basically doing the swap. So I think if you have Phraesto, you could try something like this instead of using Thoran or combining the two tanks. Then we have option, if you don't have Lily May, I would probably try to use once again like some kind of two healer, Thoran and Scarlita, even if you don't have Lily May. So you could have something like Shakir, or you could have Aaron instead of Lily May, or you could have Brian or Phraesto. So something like this could work, or you could bring like Damien here instead of the Coco. And I think I'm actually gonna try this. I haven't tested this, but I think my Lily May, my Hewynn will be Supreme Plus. Well, I could actually already upgrade her to Supreme Plus right now, but I'll wait a couple more days to upgrade her. So then I'll probably test something like this, and then I can later on tell how it's working. Maybe it's not working at all, but yeah, something like this could work. Or then you could do, like I said, something like this with Brian or with Aaron. The thing, most of the time I think I see people using Aaron, but with this comp, but I think maybe Brian could work better, because Brian won't move from here. So the thing with Aaron is, obviously, if you place him here, he will start walking here, and Thoran will start like walking here. But then if the enemy has Lily May placed somewhere here, then the Lily May will, it's possible that the Lily May will just kill your Aaron. So that's why maybe using someone like Brian instead here, so that the Brian will stay here. And then you could also test moving your Damien here, so that the Damien will heal both heroes here, although Brian might not need that much healing, because even if he goes down, he has the revive ability. But then if you move Damien to the backline, then don't use Enlightening spell, because the Enlightening spell won't benefit Damien that much. So yeah, I think something like this could work if you don't have Lily May. And then if you do have Lily May but you don't have Scarlita, or you don't want to use Scarlita, then I think these are some of the options that you could use. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're using Shakir or anything, you would ideally have him plus 10. And if you're using Brian, you would have him as plus 5, because if I'm not mistaken, that gives you the resurrection ability, so, or like fatal damage block ability. And yeah, if you use Arden, you have him at Supreme Plus and plus 10 at least. Of course, having him higher is good for the damage. But yeah, if you don't have Scarlita, then you can use like combination of these heroes, and the placement can be something like this, for example, or it could be something like this. And I've seen that people use their Thoran in here instead, and then I've also seen versions where they have, yeah, you can basically do a lot of fiddling around with the placement of your heroes. Like you could have Thoran in here, Hewynn in here, link to Thoran, and then move like Lily May here, Arden here, and Damien here, or whatever. Like you can move the heroes around, but I think like something along the line of these placements is fine. Or you could use Arena 4 and then do something like this, where you have like the energy buff going for Arden, and then Lily May gets the damage reduction, and you have healing from Hewynn and enlightening spell on Hewynn, and then you have like Thoran plus the Phraesto tanks. Or once again, of course, instead of Thoran, you could use like a second healer, like Ludovic or Damien, or you could use Aaron to give more energy for your Arden with the crowd control effects, and Aaron also has the magic resist reduction attacks. So your Arden and your Lily May will do more damage. And then I think the last thing that I'm gonna talk about is Talene team. I don't really have that much experience using the Talene team, but because on my account the Talene is not Supreme Plus, but I do have a Supreme Talene, and I've been using something like this as my defense. And actually not that many people have attacked this defense, but it has won like some of the attacks that people did, so it can be like pretty decent. The idea here is that your Aaron will block the Lily May if the enemy brings Lily May, so that your Coco is free to ultimate, and your Talene is free to ultimate when the battle starts. And also at the same time, your Aaron is protecting your Coco from any potential Vala attacks. And then you have like Shakir tanking the front line, and then Damien healing your Coco. But I think this could be better with maybe even with Brian instead of the Aaron, because Brian won't move from this position, so he will stay kind of at the back line. And or it could be better with like Hewynn instead of Damien, because Damien is obviously, the healing area is a lot less, so the healing won't hit your Shakir if Shakir moves forward, or if your Aaron moves forward, the healing won't hit the Aaron, and it's possible that the healing won't reach your Talene either. So maybe Hewynn here is better. I've also seen someone mention positioning like this. So you are bringing Thoran instead of Shakir, and Thoran is maybe a little bit better tank when it comes to just simply tanking, and then you have two healers, and you have Lily May interrupting the enemy. You could also, I guess, bring something like Ludovic instead of one of the healers, or you could bring Niru, like instead of Damien, for example, so that the Niru is blocking potential enemy Lily May interruption. And also, if it's not, if Niru's ultimate is not blocked, then obviously he gives like the revive buff to Lily May. So yeah. And then if you have Phraesto, you can try something like this, but yeah, it's not bad either to have like energy buff for your Talene and then some damage reduction for Lily May, and then Hewynn for the heals, and then enlightening spell so that Hewynn cannot be swapped. And yeah, then Scarlita to give some more like shields for your team, and then potentially finish off the enemy team. I think these are decent examples of the Talene team. So that's it about the different kind of meta teams that I've seen, and I think that are pretty good. Then we can go into just some examples of different teams that I have actually kind of seen and how I have won against those teams. I'm not gonna show like clips for all of these teams, but I'm just showing like the placements that worked. But obviously there is like randomness involved in some of these fights, so they're not like 100% guaranteed that if you place your heroes in the same way that you're gonna win. And there is a lot of factors when it comes to like, do the enemy have Paragon heroes? Do you have Paragon heroes? What is the level of the weapons that you have, etc. So, and then even if everything is like same as you see in the image, then there can be still like randomness with the ultimate timings and Scarlita slam directions, etc. But maybe this gives you some idea. Most of the teams won't have Lily May, or actually any of the teams won't have Lily May, and most of the teams won't have Scarlita either, or Hewynn, because my Hewynn is not Supreme Plus right now. I mean, she will be in a couple of days, and I have only recently gotten my Scarlita to Supreme Plus, so I didn't want to just use her on all of the videos or all of the examples. And then also I don't have Lily May. My Lily May is Mythic Plus, so hopefully in the future when I make next video I can use more Lily May, Scarlita and Hewynn, because I know that a lot of you probably have those heroes, so it's good to get some examples with those ones also. But I mean, if you already have them, I think you have a pretty good idea how to beat these teams with them. But I'm just gonna show the placements, talk about some of them, and then for some of them I have also clips. So with this placement I have marked here that I was able to win 2 out of the 3 wins. By the way, if you think why it says Holystone Citizen as the name, I have 2 accounts which I use for Arena. So this is my other account, so that's why it's saying this name. And they, of course, have a little bit different heroes. So that's why maybe in some ones you see that I'm using Scarlita or whatever, and some ones I'm using like Rowan, for example. I was able to beat this team, even though they have like Paragon heroes and like plus 20 heroes, with just like pretty basic Mauler team. You can actually do quite well against like these 2 healer Scarlita Lily May teams with tanky enough Mauler team, because Scarlita and Antandra are able to tank the Lily May's damage pretty well. And then there is not like real threat to your backline, so you can have ODs and whatnot in your backline. And then it just mostly comes down to when the Scarlita lands, do you have your Coco's damage reduction up, and are your heroes healthy enough so that the Scarlita won't throw them out of the map? So sometimes you do have healthy enough heroes and sometimes you don't have, but using something like this can actually work quite well against these 2 healer Scarlita teams. Yeah, and then we have like very similar team with just a bit of different placement of the heroes. And yeah, I was basically able to win against this team using a little bit of different heroes this time, but it was like really close call, so it could be down to like randomness whether you win or not. But of course, once again, we noticed that they have quite a lot higher like weapons and they have multiple Paragon heroes, so if things were more equal, then maybe it would be a safer fight. Then we have just like a Aeron variant with Thoran and like Lily May at the back. So with this one I was once again using like a Mauler team, and we know that the Aeron will group up everyone. So I just used Ludovic instead, so Ludovic will keep our team alive, and then hopefully after that we can get Coco's ultimate online, and then Odie will start killing them one by one. This is a little bit different because this is not, yeah, these are not all Lily May teams, these are just teams that I have in my top 20. So this is like Talene team, and I was able to win it about 50% of the time, so this is definitely not guaranteed, because sometimes your Arden will interrupt the Talene in time, but sometimes the Arden won't interrupt Talene in time, and Talene will grill your team. Now it's possible that this would be better with Hewynn instead of Damien, but like I said, I don't have Hewynn. So if you have something similar on your server, you could try with Hewynn instead. And then also, I think I've used different tanks in place of Granny. I've used Antandra, for example, and it was also working sometimes. But if you had Phraesto, for example, you could use Phraesto, and that would be most likely a lot better. You could like place one copy of the Phraesto here and one here, and then you could give the energy buff to your Arden and like damage reduction to your Hewynn, for example. So yeah, I think that would be better. Or energy buff to your Coco or whatever. I don't have the placement of heroes here, but basically it was just the same team of like using like Shakira and Antandra and Coco and Damien, and then Odie to kill the enemy team. Yeah, this person was trying to use the Arena 5 with like the instant ultimates, but then if you're not careful how you place your heroes, then you can easily do something like swap one of the key targets with Rainier, and then something using like a Coco with the instant ultimate tiles is really powerful, because it gives your team a lot of survivability. And this, I don't have the placements, but from the looks of it, I just used Sylvina and Vala to kill the Arden like right away, and then Coco and Shakir will do the tanking when the Scarlita comes down. And yeah, this is like not a Lily May team. This is kind of like some old team. Maybe they don't have Lily May or they have stopped playing, but they are still in top 20. But basically, Vala will kill the Hewynn, because the Hewynn doesn't have, well, it won't be instant kill, but over the time Vala will be able to kill the Hewynn. And the Hewynn won't be able to ultimate because Vala keeps like stunning and energy reduction and stuff like that. And then you have like 2 tanky heroes with the Coco that are able to tank the damage from Scarlita. Someone is testing the Arena 5 with like instant ultimates. I don't know, you can just use Sylvina, for example, to kill whoever is placed here. But then if you're not careful, Sylvina can then run here after killing them, and then potentially the Lily May will kill your Sylvina, and then if you don't have a second damage source, then obviously you won't be able to kill the Lily May. So you're gonna have to have a second damage source. So I just used Carolina, but you could use something else. And then, yeah, this is kind of like old team without Lily May as well. You can just kill the Arden with the Vala targeting. Vala will target the Arden, and then you combine that with your Arden's damage, then they will die. And then these are some of the top like 5 teams that I haven't really tried to beat because I can't beat them because they have like Paragon 2 Hypergen heroes or whatever, but these are just the placements for those teams. I don't know if you really wanna draw too many conclusions from these. I mean, if you have heroes like this, you probably know better than me how to use them. Yeah, and then we have this Diurnal team, and I don't know, I don't really see Diurnal teams that much on my servers, or so maybe they have like kind of evolved past this team, but if someone is still using something similar on your server, then you can maybe use Vala and Lily May. So I know that I haven't been able to beat this because I don't have these heroes, but I know that some people from our guild have been able to beat it with Vala and Lily May. So it's a possibility to use something like this. And then maybe if they are not enough damage, then you can even try to use like Sylvina or Rainier with Sylvina to like give the Rainier to the Diurnal so that the Diurnal will take more damage. And then someone was trying to use the special Arena 5 with like Paragon team, but like I said, you have to be careful when you use this arena, because if you leave something like Hewynn here, even if you have Enlightening spell to protect your Hewynn, sometimes it can be effective to teleport your Odie like next to the Hewynn, and Odie will pretty much instantly kill the Hewynn. So that's what happened here, and then I was using the Talene to kind of grill the rest of the team. So something like this can be good for attacking as well, depending on the enemy heroes. And then I've also seen people use like this Lily May plus Phraesto, Scarlita plus Vala team, and I don't know, maybe you can try it. I don't know how good it actually is. I wasn't able, with this placement, I wasn't able to win it, but it was like really close, and you can obviously see that these are like Paragon plus 20 heroes, so if I had like better Vala and better Temesia, then I think I would be able to win this fight. because your Vala will be able to target the enemy Vala. And it was like really close to dying, and I have actually beaten similar placement team with, I don't remember if they had Paragon heroes back then, but basically using these same heroes, except at the time I didn't use the Messiah, but I used Shakir instead, and then that was able to win like very much similar teams. So I don't know how good this team actually is, but because there is like a big difference between the level of the heroes, then I wasn't really able to beat it reliably. So yeah, those were the teams from one of my accounts team server, and then these are from my main account server. So once again, something similar like Maulers and Hewynn able to beat this Lily May Scarlita team. It was pretty like sketchy fight, but I was able to win 2 out of the 2 battles, so it seems to work. And I don't have placements for this, but yeah, for this one I was using my own Scarlita, but I have won against this team without Scarlita as well, with like Shakir and Arden team. And yeah, anything like this, you can maybe try your own Scarlita. So I was able to win against like Paragon heroes with just using my own Scarlita quite reliably actually. Now obviously you might be saying that Paragon 2 OD is not maybe the best hero to have, and I agree, but it would maybe work even if it wasn't OD and it was something like Damien instead. But yeah, I was able to win with this placement. So Scarlita team, Talene team, I was able to win with this placement multiple times, I think. And then these are the like Phraesto on Arena 1 teams. Yeah, when you use it, when you use Arena 1, you have to be careful about Rainier swapping. So I'm not gonna talk about this one, but I was able to win it with multiple different teams. But basically, these are this kind of like the same teams, and because they have the confining spell, you can just do something like Arden at the back spot with a lightning spell, so that the confining spell won't hit your Arden, and then you can also swap your Arden with one of the enemy heroes, like the Hewynn or the Aaron, and then your Arden will get like damage boost also from the Rainier buff, and then you can win the enemy team. But even with this placement, because, well, my heroes are like maximum plus 10, it's not 100% sure that you will win against this one, but it's like, I would say like 2 out of 3 fights you should win maybe, but it's not 100% that you will win, because sometimes the Scarlita will come down, and even if you have killed most of the enemy team already, the Scarlita can still like one-shot your team, because no one is really able to tank the Scarlita well in this placement. So that's the kind of like the thing. If you use Rainier, then your team will be potentially quite weak to the Scarlita, because everyone is still quite squishy. But yeah. And yeah, with this one I was just using once again the same team of Scarlita and Shakir and Coco, and then you could use Hewynn if you have Hewynn instead of Damien maybe, but Damien is good as well, because Damien will give like haste to your Coco, etc. So this seems to work. I'm not saying that it's 100%, but it's like pretty decent team to use against like these kind of Scarlita Lily May teams. And yeah, here we also used like a tanky team with Odie. And then here we used like quite damage heavy team against the enemy 2 healer Lily May Scarlita team. I would say it's a little bit randomness once again with the Scarlita Slam, because your team is not that able to tank the enemy Scarlita well once she actually comes down. And also this team probably won't work if the Hewynn is placed differently, because with this one the Hewynn is kind of left out here so that your Arden is able to root the Hewynn, and also the Damien is not healing the Hewynn, and they don't like have any protection really for the Hewynn, not Thoran link for the Hewynn, so the Hewynn will die quite easily with this one. But yeah, if you see Hewynn placed in the frontmost position, then you can try something like this, but it's not like, I would say it's 100% sure that you will win, but yeah. And then these are some of the top teams that I haven't really tried to win, once again, because they have like Paragon 2 heroes. This one was just something that someone was testing, I guess, for one day, so I was able to beat it quite on the first try with just like, once again, Scarlita tanky team. And this one I was also able to beat with almost team, and they little bit different placement. I wasn't able to beat with the same setup, but it was like really close, so if I had like better Arden, for example, I think it would be able to win it. And then this one was, I don't have the image for this team, but basically it was a Talene team with Phraesto and Lily May and Scarlita. But whenever you have the opportunity to swap the enemy Hewynn, then you have a pretty good chance of winning. So what I did was I swapped the Hewynn with Olmos, and then I had Arden to kind of counter the Talene, and then your team will just chill here. I mean, the Olmos will go there, but then once they kill your Olmos for the first time, the Olmos will be teleported back to your backline, and then all of your heroes are kind of here, and the enemy will have to walk around to your heroes kind of, and they are wasting their time the whole time, and then they will kind of like choke pointed here. So this is, I would say, pretty bad map to use if you want to use Talene team. So yeah, that's about it, I guess. Those are some of the defense placements that I think are pretty good, and then some examples on how you can beat similar placements even without Lily May or Scarlita. Yeah, hopefully next time I'll be able to show you some ideas on how to beat these teams using Scarlita and Lily May and Hewynn. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye!